Hello, welcome again to this episode in Adventures in Pop-Ups. We're so glad you're with us. Today we are discussing the difference between a standard pop-up camper and the classic HW, the high wall. If you didn't know what HW is, now you did. High wall.
High wall.
And we are huge fans of the high wall, but we will discuss the pros and cons of both.
Right.
So, without further ado,
let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
So, basically, if you don't already know, a regular pop-up camper is shorter, and a high wall is higher, but still pops up. And so, as far as traveling-wise, the standard has a shorter frame, and it's less drag, and you can talk more about towability.
Yeah, well, it's easier to see. We can't really see behind our high wall pop-up camper, but the one that we just bought has a camera, so we can actually see behind it. So that makes it a lot easier to know what's behind you.
Yeah, the standard pop-up, you can still see, right from the rearview mirror, you can see behind you because it's short enough.
Lower profile, the biggest benefits to it are a lower profile and a lower weight. So, you know, you can tow it with a lot of your V6 engines. Some of them are so light you can tow with a 4-cylinder, although I wouldn't recommend that too much.
Yeah, the weight's about 1,000 to 3,000 pounds. Sometimes you get them under 1,000, but not much.
And your V6 can go up to about 3,600 pounds. Of course, I don't like to push it too close to that.
Right.
And you're going to have all the people and your gear in there. So, you know, if you're in a V6, I would try and keep it under 2,400, 2,500 pounds for a smaller pop-up camper.
Yeah, don't just look at how much you're allowed to tow. You've got way more. You got people to think about, stuff to think about in the vehicle and in the camper.
Thinking about brakes and transmission too. You know, you don't want to stress out your vehicle and tear up your brakes and your transmission. That would not be cool. Okay, but anyways, yeah, towing and maneuverability, I don't think there's much difference. There is some weight difference, so definitely having a truck or a V8 engine is going to help you in slowing down when you get into a high wall.
High walls are what, like 3,000 to 4,000 pounds pretty much?
Yeah, most of them are just over 3,000 pounds. So, features. This is the biggest difference between them is the features. Interior space, you're going to have a lot more. You're going to have more headroom, although headroom's fine usually on a regular standard pop-up camper. But you're going to have tons more storage options with cabinets usually. You're going to have, you know, higher cabinets. But the biggest difference you're going to see is in your fridge. You're going to go from a tiny little fridge to, you know,
a crappy fridge.
A smaller.
To a fair fridge.
To a fair fridge. And in ours, we actually have 2 fridges, so we are double fridged. And,
yeah.
And they're both big, so.
A note to the headroom, if we can go back to that for a second. The standard pop-up camper, like you said, is pretty average, but tall people, I think, might struggle a little bit. I noticed one time we had our brother-in-law in our camper, and they have a hybrid, and he was impressed that there was better clearance in our high wall than there was in their hybrid even. So that was impressive. I believe it's 6.5 feet, possibly even 7. This one is actually higher clearance than our other high wall, but in general, you're going to get way better headroom, which makes it feel light and airy. A note to the features: a standard pop-up camper will probably have a single sink, which is tiny but doable. The newer ones have normal knobs. In the high wall, you'll have a double wall sink with a better faucet. And then what else? In a standard, you'll have your typical 2 or 3 burner stove. Some of them are installed, some of them are carry out, so you can cook inside or outside. In a high wall, probably every high wall I've seen that I know of, you get a 3-burner stove and an oven, which I didn't even know existed in a pop-up camper until we saw a high wall and got it. And we were like, what? There's an oven.
Did a Totino's pizza out in Colorado.
We did, just so we could say we used the oven. We bought an overpriced Totino's in the mountains.
Got to use it once or twice, probably just once.
I think just once. What else on features? Did I say it was a double wall sink? Here's another big
Yeah.
difference. Standard pop-up campers may or may not have a cassette toilet. Some people add them. I've seen people like empty out cabinet space to add their own cassette toilet. In the high walls, some of them I believe are still a cassette, but some of them, a lot of them actually have a black tank and a gray tank, which you don't get in your standard pop-up camper. Ours actually has walls. This is our bathroom.
Love the solid wall.
Love the solid walls. If you can get one with solid walls, so nice.
Just makes it feel like a room instead of just having a curtain.
Yes.
And kids, they can just be like, ha ha, peek behind the curtain, right?
Right.
There's a couple of cracks you can get in behind there, but it's a lot harder.
Right. Yeah, definitely the walls are better. Also, a standard pop-up camper and a high wall can have a slide out, though. So if you can't know that your vehicle cannot handle a high wall, you can still find a slide out, and that'll still give you a lot more space.
Sleeping space, you're going to have, usually a fold-out couch, your dinette. You can have that in, I think you're more apt to have slide outs in a high wall than in a standard, just because you're getting all the extra luxury amenities. It's camping. It's kind of glamping, but it's camping still. It's just camping
with all the creature comforts.
Not on the ground. Okay, let's just be honest. We're just not on the ground people. Been there, done that. And I guess you can get off the ground in a tent. You can set up certain kind of beds and stuff and cots, but I don't know. We just slept on an air mattress on the ground.
And then sometimes wake up on the ground.
and then got rained out a couple times, and the air mattress deflates. And or this, you're sleeping on a board, but we know how to fix that, don't we?
We do have tips and tricks for that. Check out other videos.
Yeah, I think we're pretty good. Price range is going to be your main difference.
Yes.
We started out with a $3,000 camper. I believe it was $3,000.
Yeah.
And it was a really nice one-owner family. It was really clean, but it didn't have air conditioning.
Yeah.
And it didn't have a slide-out dinette. So
it was clean, but it was basic.
It was very basic. No bathroom.
Right.
No bathroom, so it didn't have the things that we really wanted. But we were like, hey, this will work for 2, 3, 4 years. We can take our time, find something else we like. And wouldn't you know, she found exactly what she wanted.
And then some.
And then some. And
yeah, when we first got the standard pop-up, it was exciting. We were like, we don't have to sleep on the ground anymore.
Huge upgrade.
We can leave all our stuff in the camper. We don't have as much packing to do because, once you have a camper, you should get to the point where you're only packing basically clothes and food, and everything else is in your camper ready to go. We were living like kings, but then it's like the more we were in it, there's 6 of us, and we did not have a slide out. We didn't have air. So we were kind of like, okay, maybe we should look for this or that.
We added a portable air conditioner.
We did,
pretty quickly.
And that worked pretty good.
We realized we were going to need that, especially going to Florida.
Yes, Florida in the summer.
We had a great time in Florida at Legoland. Anyways, but when we were in Florida, it did rain a lot. And so we were in this little pop-up camper, and there was not much walking space in there because there was no slide out. So when you have the slide out, you get a lot more walking space. But definitely the air conditioner in the roof is way better than having your portable air conditioner that you can vent out a window or whatever. That does help a lot. Of course, having Reflectix helps a lot as well. But I'd say that was the main difference. You're not going to it's going to cost you a little more, or you're going to get into a pop-up camper for a lower price. Or if you just find a deal out there that it needs a little work, it needs an updating, an older model perhaps. But you put $500 to $1,000 into a pop-up camper, and
it goes a long way.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, you can do the floor for a couple $100 and this and that and the other things. So
yeah, so I mean, basically, your main difference is the features and having more amenities. I mean, basically, a high wall pop-up camper is comparable to a full RV. Only you're still getting the pop-up features. Meaning towability and all the whole tent feel, but you're still getting a bathroom and a stove and a sink, a double wall sink, and more space, more sleeping area, bigger beds sometimes. So you're just basically getting an RV with a tent feel.
King Queen a lot of times, or King King. Even our last one was a King King. This is a King Queen. but we've got a bigger fold-out couch, a bigger dinette, a wraparound dinette. So that makes it really nice. I really like the wraparound dinettes, let me just say. Okay, another main difference between your standard and your high wall is, I said it's storage, but I didn't say that it will be a lot easier to pack up a high wall. You're going to have a lot more storage room, like coming in the door, where if you're in a standard, you're going to have to pack things a little more carefully. It's going to be more like Tetris. And so it just makes it, I mean, there's still a decent amount of storage that you can get in and shove kind of, your camp chairs or scooters or things in. It's going to need a little bit more finesse work, perhaps, where we have so much room.
We really do.
We can just open our door and just shove pretty much everything in.
We put a lot of stuff in this thing. We don't even fold down the scooters. Just, it all goes in, it fits.
There's lots of room. So that's, an easy storage hack there at the end.
Okay, so basically to sum it all up, one thing I would say, it does take maybe just a couple minutes longer to set up, but really our regular pop-up camper was probably a 15-minute setup. This might be a 20-minute setup. 30 if you're really getting out all the stuff and setting everything up and you got an outdoor kitchen. It depends on how much stuff you have, but a little bit faster on the lighter counterpart. The main difference, as Blake said, is price, weight, and features. A standard pop-up camper is lighter. It could be a little more towable. Usually when you're bumping up to the high wall, actually this camper has a tandem axle. If you have a single axle, you might be looking at a sway bar to help with the extra weight. They have more features. It's more luxurious camping, as they say, which is basically like a small travel trailer, only honestly, I feel like with pop-up campers, you get more sleeping space. If you have a larger family, you really do get more sleeping space, because like a lot of them will have 4 sleeping spaces. You automatically have both bunk ends, almost always. Sometimes they only have one end, but you got 2 bunk ends. You've got a dinette. Some do and some don't have a couch that folds down into a bed, or we've just slept a small child on the couch that didn't fold into a bed. When they're little enough, it works. The price is a huge difference. You're looking at a used standard, I would say, entry level, shoot for around $1,500. You can find it for $1,000. You can find it for $500, but it might be a piece of junk that needs a lot of work. $3,000 is a pretty fair used price, usually at the time of this video. Honestly, our high wall, the first one was just under $7,000, and this was $10,000. This is a lot newer. It's nicer. So yes, you could get a full travel trailer for that price. A new one is, I think, a new standard pop-up camper is about $15,000 to $20,000, and a new high wall does it go up to 30?
18 to 27 probably.
18 to 27, we'll drop it on the screen. So yes, there's a big price difference, but you are obviously getting more features for it. And another feature of pop-up campers
But you can find the high walls for $6,000 to $7,000, $8,000.
Yes, we actually saw one recently that was $3,500.
I've seen several deals.
They show up
$4,000 or $5,000. So, but usually 6, 7, 8, and if you're getting something nicer and newer, it's going to be 10, 11, 12.
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, you are paying more, but you're still getting the pop-up experience. You're getting the tent. You're getting maneuverability. You are able to fit into smaller places. When we went to Yellowstone, we did get a 30 or 40 foot spot, and we had plenty of room because you can finagle it a little bit extra when you've got the bunks that pop out on the ends. You can fit into smaller places. In fact, some places that only allow smaller places, you can go there.
Only allow smaller campers.
I would say that if you have less features, you have less things to fix. So that can keep it cheaper on the fixing side of things too, the maintenance. But really, they're about the same. You still want to do, lubricate the lift system. You want to check on different things. They basically function the same. It's just extra.
And the maintenance stuff can be overwhelming because you've never done it before. But, YouTube's great.
Yes.
People will show you how to do it. And it might take you 20 minutes or an hour longer, but you can save a lot of money. Or you can just pay somebody to do those services for you. Or you can not do the service and then have a huge issue. It's up to you what you want to do, but we would say, hey, learn how to do it, and grease that wiffle tree, right?
Right, right.
I did it. It wasn't that hard. If I can do it, it's like 4 or 5 screws and cleaning some old grease out and putting some new grease in. It's not that hard.
Yeah. It's really good to have simplified systems. I mean, for example, a slide out. I see RV people all the time saying that their slide out broke in the middle of a camping trip. Well, our slide out, I mean, I'm sure something could go wrong with it, but it's manual. It's manual and it's not that heavy. I do it myself. Yeah. I'm sure my teenager could do it. All right, so thanks for watching. If you haven't already, we would love a like, a subscribe, hit the bell. Let us know your thoughts. Do you have a standard? Have you thought about a high wall? Have you thought about going to the dark side because you wanted more amenities? Well, guess what? You can have a high wall and get all the amenities and still have the tent feel and all the pop-up perks. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy camping.
Happy camping.